This is Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need from America's mortgage mentor with more than 35 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. You'll learn to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently. Also, be sure to check out Jen's book, Launch: How to Take Your Business to New Heights, available on Amazon. For a signed copy, contact Jen at jenduplessis.com. Now, here is certified mortgage planner and CEO of Kinetic Spark Consulting, Jen Duplessis.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, my guest is Jennie Edwards. And I love that I have another Jennifer/Jennie on our call today. There's so many of us out there. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
So let me tell you about Jennie before we get started. She's a photographer, a videographer. She helps entrepreneurs share their message to make a bigger impact in the world. She teaches how to show up confidently and vulnerably at the same time without being cocky. So I know there's a message there in alignment with your values, which is right in store with what I do. All about my coaching is aligning your values with, your success. Since 2007, Jennie has run a successful business, empowering clients to grow their audience, connect authentically, and drive sales. So, and she's a great dancer.
Thank you.
And of course, one thing you probably don't know about me is that I'm a competitive ballroom, Latin, and swing dancer. So I was dancing with you, but I was doing other things. And, so it was fun. We had the great opportunity to meet at New Media Summit a couple months ago. And, so here we are. So welcome to the show, Jennie. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
So I want to start off with, and we'll get to, the confidentiality, the confidence and the vulnerability, but I want to start off with your story. Tell us about you and how you have gotten to this point. Did you always set out to be a photographer? Is that kind of morphed into something? So we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up an only child living a pretty secluded life on a farm in rural Illinois. And so I didn't have a lot of other kids to play with in the neighborhood. And I was constantly, and there are like 2 TV channels on TV at the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I really, and I was bullied on the school bus. And so I had this really introverted kind of lifestyle. And I had to just make a decision for myself when I remember going into high school. I was like, something has to change. I just don't want to be like this nerdy, introverted kid. And I want to do something else. It's not working for me. And so I decided to go out for the theater club. And that was this huge step for me. And it really opened up a lot of options for me for expressing myself. And even though I was not the star of the school play or anything, it at least gave me another option to learn new things, be in front of people, and expand my comfort zone.
Right.
And that started giving me more confidence for my life, which has ultimately shifted, me incrementally along my path about being able to be on stage and be in front of people and be me and be truly me, but be like the better, more improved me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. And, and I'm reflecting back, seeing you and how vibrant you are. And, for those of you that are listening and not watching the video, she's got beautiful red hair and, you just definitely set yourself apart from the rest of the crowd. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because I really believe in people being the authentic them, right? Being the authentic themselves, and you just were. And one of the powerful things about that is that it attracts people rather than people having to go, try to grab business and clients and pull them in. It's an attraction, it becomes a magnet. So it's easier, it's more efficient to be able to pull people towards you that are attracted to your style and your dynamics, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is making sure that people understand what their message is and how it aligns with their values, et cetera. So tell us about your values and how this came about and how we how we can align our message with our values. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So I really value some core values that I was taught when I was a kid. Honesty and loyalty and, trust and also as I've grown older, I've seen the opportunities of sharing my story. It's really evolved into me, seeing how I could use my gifts, because I actually I'm a fine artist by my education. And I thought, how am I going to be an artist and make a bigger impact in the world? Like, I don't want to just sell paintings on, in the art fair or whatever, but how could I actually do something to help people? And through the process of my own personal development and also starting to do public speaking training about 10 years ago, I thought, people need video. People need this as a tool to share what they have and to elevate their visibility. And so how it has evolved is seeing how, not only can I feel really fulfilled by using my gifts and talents to help elevate others, but seeing how I can hold space for them to share this message that they have. And sometimes people just don't even have clarity of what is their message. What am I supposed to share about my story? And how can I even be vulnerable? Like, that freaks me out.
Right.
So by really holding space for them to let that part of them be seen and accepted, it's made a huge shift.
Yeah. And I think that, from my own experience, over the years, 35 years in lending, the propensity and most of my audience is, lenders or realtors, some entrepreneurs as well. But the tendency is for us to, maintain a very stiff professional image, right? And not share about ourselves. And what I do know is seeing those loan officers and realtors that do go out of the box or stretch the box, right? They do shine a light on themselves and making themselves different from everybody else. But the unfortunate thing I see is that when someone sees, someone else going out there and being like putting a cartoon character up, right? And being everything, all their marketing is about cartoon characters, or doing something that is very feminine, right? Very feminine, where, you're sitting and you have flowers. Just funny because I have flowers. But it's me. That's the real me. My mom was a florist. I mean, my gosh, I'm a big flower person. But anyway, like seeing me and saying, oh, look, she has all those pretty flowers and whatever. I should do that. Where the disconnect is identifying what's right for you, because what may be right for someone else may not be right for you. So how do we dissect that? How do we dive in and figure out, what do I want to do? If I were to call Jennie and say, hey, I want you to photograph me and I want you to do a video, really showing my vulnerability and showing the message I want to give. I don't know what if I don't know what message I want to give? How do I prepare for that? How do I dig deep and figure that out?
Well, I think that it's important, like we were talking about, just to start with the values, because what are your core values and what values do you want to magnetize in the people that you are working with?
Right.
Because obviously if you want to work with people who are goal driven and people who are open to, personal development or change, then somebody that you meet that doesn't fit those criteria is like, why, don't spin my wheels and waste my time to, pull this person into my life, because, it's basically like you want to surround yourself with excellence and people that are in alignment with your values. So starting with the values, and then looking at the parts of your message and your story that can relate to those key values. Because as you're sharing those parts of your story, that really comes into play with building the connection, and connection builds trust.
Right.
So starting out with that is a really important part. And sometimes it's like journaling about it. It's, taking the time to just reflect, okay, what aspects of my life could really exhibit, this part of my personality. so that that's a great place to begin.
Yeah, I love that because, that's what my coaching is all about, by the way.
Awesome.
The premise of my entire program is a life with values adds value everywhere in your life. And so I love hearing this because you're echoing exactly what I teach on this, or share on this podcast all the time. What you're doing is sharing it through a lens, right? It's bringing it through a lens. I do something completely different, but what you do is share it through the lens, and I really, really like that. So tell us what you find. Give us an example of a client that you've had recently that you've helped break through this messaging to really get that vulnerability out that made an impact in their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I recently worked with an acupuncturist, and she had never told her story on camera before. And so through this process of it's like the hero's journey. If you're familiar with the
Yep,
hero's
I
journey,
am.
yeah, and guiding her through that process of what parts of her story to highlight. And that was a really amazing process, because through that, not only was she seeing how, what her pulling out, like the passion behind why she does what she does, and then her story of how she got into that, what made this shift for her, and how she was called to do this type of work for healing, between she had been studying Western medicine, and how she now is like the bridge to Eastern medicine with her work, but also seeing how these benefits that her clients are feeling, like how she's able to really heal them, from these big life altering situations that they're having. And it gave her this greater sense of appreciation and confidence too. And like, this is what I'm doing. I have credibility, and I'm seen as an expert at doing this because of what I've gone through in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too, because, there's, I was just going to share, I have this piece of paper with me all the time, and it's called Above the Line and Below the Line. And it's activities, actions, responses, behaviors, beliefs and statements that you make that, we always want to be working above the line, which is, and rather than scarcity, it's in abundance, right? We're working in the abundance side of things rather than the scarcity. And I think that one of the lessons I learned in a breakthrough that I had, and your story for her, telling your story about her brings this up, is that, for years I had a shell on, right? I had this shell that was, I'm professional, I don't need any help, because I felt that if I asked for help, that was making me weak. I wasn't, and I saw that as vulnerable, right? I didn't see it as scarcity. I saw it as weak and vulnerable, and in a way that I didn't want to share with the world, right? I didn't want to share. I say, oh no, I've got this. I'm woman, hear me roar, right? I got this.
I totally relate.
What I realized that I was actually working in the scarcity. I was working below the line in a lot of scarcity, that I was afraid that if someone knew that I needed help, that it would make me, weak, and maybe they wouldn't work with me. And when I realized, and I finally told my story, about 7-8 years ago, I finally told my story. I now at the point where I can tell my story without crying. But, and there are days where it hits me, but most of the time I can tell my story without crying. It actually raised me up into the above the line, into abundance, and people were drawn to that story. So I love that you say, especially what you said about what part of her story is important to tell, because we all have stories. We all have circumstances. Some are more deeply rooted than others. Some are way, way back. Some are recent. But knowing what part of your story to tell that aligns with your values so that you can attract people, I think is huge. So how do you draw that piece? How do you combine those two? How do you combine, all the pieces of the story and say, okay, this piece is going to align with your business? So how do you bring those together?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a long, long question.
Yeah. I think that, starting, like I mentioned, starting with the values and who do you want to magnetize, and then looking at what is your goal. What is the next step that you want people to take? And one of the things that I also teach is about the 9 gates of customer commitment, because obviously there's different levels of commitment that are required for different professions.
Right.
Like you might pick somebody out of Yelp and hire them for a really basic service. But obviously, if it's something that's really specialized, you need to interview them, you need to get to know them, you need to feel like they're the right fit. And so there's different aspects of the story that can be implemented to, increase that level of commitment and deepen that relationship to, to take the trust building into action where they actually hire you for your services.
Right. I love that. I love that. The 9 gates. So hopefully you're going to share a couple of those gates with us. Yeah. And maybe you will in your sessions that you're going to be offering everybody. So you'll be able to share that as well. So Jennie, what's it like to be you?
That's a great question. It's awesome. I love my life.
That's great. Well, tell us a little bit about you. What do you do when you're not working?
Oh, that's a good question too. Well, I love personal development, and I love work. I love reading, and one of the things that has made a big impact to me was I read Brené Brown's Daring Greatly this year, and since we were talking about vulnerability and showing up and moving past the shame or the weakness and to abundance, and I also have a daughter who is 3. And I'm pregnant.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Thank you. So
I know that though. Wait a minute. I know that because I kept going over to you when you were dancing. I forgot about that. Saying, "Are you okay? How's your belly today?" Because you danced so much that night before. And I said, is your belly okay?
Yeah.
I know, and you're due really soon.
Yeah, I am. I have 5.5 weeks left.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And so I love just being present in the moment. That's always a present necessity in my life as being a mompreneur and juggling everything. But just having that resourcefulness, because it's not about the resources, it's about the resourcefulness.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's totally different. Yeah. One's action and one isn't. Yeah. So now as we kind of close out here today, I know that you have a gift for my listeners. So why don't you tell us about that gift? And of course, we'll have the link in the notes as well, so they can grab it and come and, see you.
Okay, great. Yes, I would love to gift all of your listeners a custom monetization blueprint, which is a 30-minute Zoom call that we could do. And I can teach you some different elements, like we talked about the 9 gates of customer commitment, and customize that for your industry. So giving you some insights on how you can build trust and, increase that level of trust and commitment, which leads to action and monetization of your message.
Awesome. And that really is a great gift, because so many people struggle with, I've done everything. I've tried this. So let's just stop the nonsense and, reach out to Jennie and just see if you can't hone that in, so that next year, in 2020 or years beyond, because obviously our podcast is forever, right? That you have that ability to change your life and really make a difference next year. So I absolutely love that. And I thank you so much for that gift. So as we close out, I'd like to know, do you have a special quote that you live by that you'd like to share with everyone that might impact them today?
That's a great question. It's funny because it takes me back to when I think I was 15 years old or 16. And I was listening to the Beastie Boys at that time.
Yes, I know. I love them.
Yeah. And there's a quote in one of their songs that says, "Trust yourself and you'll never fall."
There you go.
And it's always stuck with me.
Yeah, I love that. And we don't take time to just step back and do that. and really follow our guts, our gut and trust ourselves. I love that. Trust yourself and you will never fall. Thank you so much for that. Well, Jennie, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I wish you all the best in your delivery and your baby, everything. Do you know if you're having a boy or girl?
A girl.
Oh, good. Oh, that's fun. Shopping ahead.
Yeah. Empowered women. Woohoo.
And weddings. My daughter just got married 2 weeks ago, and
boy,
yay. So saving now. Saving now. Well, no, I wish you all the best, especially in your delivery. I hope that God blesses you and it's easy delivery and that she's healthy and you're healthy, and, just wish you all the best in the world. And I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And, for our listeners, I want to make sure that you all take advantage of this. So click on the link below so that you can get a complimentary 30-minute session with Jennie to see if it won't open up some doors for you. It never hurts to do these things, to learn and continue to grow. And I want to thank all the listeners for listening in, as I do almost every single episode. I'm full of gratitude, and ask you to just pay it forward. Share this podcast with everyone else. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please write a 5-star review, and please or give us a 5-star rating and then write a review for us. So I'd love to have those reviews continue to come in, and go out and make it a fantastic day.
Thank you for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Looking to streamline and launch your practice by accessing Jen's tools, courses, classes, presentations, and resources? Visit jenduplessis.com to learn about the features and benefits thousands of other professionals have experienced by enrolling in Jen's lifetime membership program. Isn't it about time you consider a coach to take your business to new heights? Contact Jen to start your application process today. Thanks again, and be sure to tune in next week.